Greetings, creeps. Welcome to HorrorGirl Problems, the podcast/videocast. Thanks for listening, Mom. This week we are joined by director, writer, producer of The Pale Door, Aaron B Koontz. Aaron also did Scare Package, which is one of my favorites from earlier this year. His new film, The Pale Door, hit Shudder today, and it's a witchy western. That's right, cowboys and witches. Look, I would have dressed as a witch, but then I wouldn't be in costume. So you get my best cowpoke with my lucky bandana. All right, let's jump right into our chat with Aaron.
I couldn't find my my normal ear thing, so I had to use these like. Oh, you're using them too. You're using like the old school ones.
Yeah, I usually use for a while I was using like the fancier ones, and then just started using these.
Yeah. I lost them. That's what happens. So.
Oh.
I'm not good at that. It's like sunglasses. You go on a trip and you lose your sunglasses, you're guaranteed. That's what I do with headphones. So.
You need one of those little chain things for your glasses.
Just wear my headphones. Or like the 80s where you have headphones around your neck for no reason, like connected to anything. It doesn't matter. So I always have them on me.
For style, obviously.
Johnny Depp could do it.
Hell yeah, it's a look.
So
bring it back, Aaron. Bring it back.
I can't bring things back. That's not what my strength is in this world. I end things pretty much. I don't bring them back fashion-wise.
What have you tried to bring back, and what have you ended?
Oh my God, I don't know. I just think that I have to emulate what I see, otherwise I can't fit in because So I don't know if I have any sense. I mean, I do change my glasses and stuff, and I try a little bit, but I still kind of wear the same clothes I've worn my whole life, so it doesn't really evolve that much for me. So,
okay,
like
I'm really
no hat. Like I went from hats constantly to no hats in 2020. That was my look what I'm doing.
That was my big thing for 2020. Also, I almost always have a hat of some sort on, but this year I'm just I'm at home a lot, and it's not conducive to resting my head on the couch,
Yeah, no, it was well, why am I wearing this? Nobody's who cares? Just go. So.
Well, I wear it for myself, and I do catwalk around the house, but it eventually kind of dropped off. Yeah.
We need those.
Well, welcome. I'm so happy to sit and chat with you. I've wanted to talk with you since I saw Scare Package on Joe Bob forever ago. So I'm so excited we finally get to hang out virtually.
Yeah, official. It's cool.
Officially. Where are you right now? What state are you in? I never can keep track.
Same here. I actually had to think about it. When you said that, I was like, where am I? I am in Austin because I have not left yet. So I came back from Orlando from a movie we just finished. I came to Austin to get my affairs in order. So I'm in an Airbnb temporarily. And my affairs in order just basically means check my mail because it's where my mail comes. Okay. And then I leave Friday and I go to New York. Well, actually, I stop in Ohio. I'm driving the whole way. It's 25 hours.
Oh, my God.
I stop in Ohio because there's another shoot that I'm participating in for just a couple days that are there. Then I go to New York where we start a new shoot on January 6th. So new feature. Yeah.
So it's been a slow year for you then.
I feel bad sometimes because it's been a mix of a very good year for me in some aspects, but then I'm I feel bad for having a good year, And it's well, what can I do to help, or what can I do to try and change that, or But I'm also, and there were weird times throughout the year too. I'm do I want to promote right now? This feels weird. I don't feel I should be promoting anything. But yeah, it's been very busy, and we've had a lot of professionally a lot of good things happen. So.
Awesome.
It's a weird conundrum of 2020 for me.
I really feel you on the almost feeling guilty for the good. But from an outside perspective for your good, don't feel guilty for that because the stuff you're doing is bringing joy to people.
I mean, I hope, right?
It does. It really does. I'm letting you know as an audience member, it brings joy. So don't feel bad about that.
Well, that's why I make things. So are we going? Is this happening?
It's going. Yeah, I can cut this out if you want, but yeah.
Oh no! I don't. I have no problem with that. That's fine. I just was clarifying. I'm should I save this good tidbit for the official side? But no, I mean that's the reason why I make movies. Was movies were a thing when I was a kid, and I had a lot of family problems and things that I went through, and I always could escape in movies. That was my little haven. Like no matter what shit happened during that day, I could come home to this like tube TV in my room and like watch something and just, I felt good and I could get away, and that was my world. So this idea that if maybe perhaps there's a person out there that I don't know, lives in a town that I've never been to, and they watched something that came from like a weird idea that I had, and it gave them an escape or a joy or a laugh or a scare or whatever, that is, I mean, that's the coolest. That's like the coolest thing.
Yeah.
That's the best thing ever. So
you are 100% doing that. So keep on keeping on. Make all the weird shit.
Thank you. That's very kind to say. Yeah.
Speaking of making weird shit, covens and cowboys. What was the inspiration for a Wild West witch movie, basically? Yeah,
no, it was. I mean, I don't know that we ever intended to make a witchy western. You know, as Joe Lansdale always calls it. I think it was really about. I wanted to make a violent western. I'd written a story with Cameron Burns, my co-writer, and we created Scare Package together as well, and we've written everything together. And I had this idea, and I really liked the characters, but I did not like what happened. They kind of get to this ghost town, they start getting picked off, but it just didn't work for me. I didn't really like the dynamics, and I wanted to have a foe that felt like it paralleled them in some way. And then totally separate from that, I got really fascinated by the Salem witch trials, and I was writing this other script that was kind of like loosely based on that, and Cotton Mather and that whole world. And that script also was just not quite working for me. And I was like, I kind of like parts of both of these, and maybe this makes sense. So I had finished making Camera Obscura, my first feature, and it was after The Witch had come out, Robert Eggers' The Witch, and people were looking for witch movies. And I remember Universal was like, hey, do you have any witch ideas? And I'm like, okay, yeah, of course I do. I've got tons of witch ideas. Like, of course, I have a perfect movie for you. Just let me have till Friday. So I'm like, Cameron, we got to write a witch movie right now. So we took these two ideas, we put them together and kind of pitched this weird Western cowboys and witches thing. And they're like, what is this? Why are there cowboys? Like, we want a normal witches. And I'm like, what the hell is a normal witch? But whatever. So that didn't happen. And then I told that story on a panel sitting next to Joe Lansdale, which was weird. I should have been in the audience. I should not be sitting next to him. And he looks at me, he's like, hey, that's a good idea. You should do that. And then he goes to the crowd and he's like, what do you think? That's a good idea. You should make that. And everybody raises their hands. And we go to dinner that night and he's like, let's do it. Well, let's find a way to make it. And I'm like, well, if Joe Lansdale is telling me that I should make it, then I kind of feel like maybe I should make it. And we did. And then 1 year to the day of that panel, I was driving to Oklahoma to start directing The Pale Door.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, weird coincidence.
Or a witchy coincidence. Witchy destiny, right?
Yeah, people in Oklahoma believe that. When we did the stuff we did to that church in there, and we had all these horrible things that happened on the shoot, like hail and tornadoes and flooding, and I mean everything that went wrong on that shoot. And I remember someone was like, "Well, you do that stuff in the church, Aaron. This is what happens." And I'm like, "Whoa, okay, all right." So who knows?
Hang on, did all that stuff really happen as you guys were shooting this?
Yes, we had Category 5 tornadoes. The actual message said, "Take shelter, your lives are in danger."
Oh my God.
We did not have enough shelters, so I didn't have a shelter. Certain cast and crew had it, but some of us as producers were like, we're the ones that got to figure it out because the crew's good, but not all of us are good. So, and then I've got cast who are on Instagram, taking pictures of it and stuff and live stories of it. And their agents are calling what are you doing? And I'm like, I can't control them. I put them in the shelter. Now they're out and they think it's pretty. But that happened. We lost probably a solid 2 to 3 days of shooting while we were on set, which in an indie film, you can't get back. So there was a lot of compromises that had to be made and a lot of sequences that had to change. And it was easily the hardest film I've ever had to shoot.
Oh my God.
Far and away. Yeah.
That's terrible. All kinds of natural disasters. I'm from California, so anything other than an earthquake absolutely terrifies the shit out of me.
We had them all. We had hail, true hail, golf ball size hail that shut us down. We had flooding to the point where we had to go out, and Joshua Miller, who's my art director, slams open the door and he's pouring down rain. And he's like, the costumes gotta flood. Go. And he slams the door and we're like, what are you doing? What is happening? And then we go out there and he's hand digging trenches to reroute the water so it doesn't destroy we had all vintage costumes, despite what people say. They were all vintage costumes. And we had to like dig these trenches and all that were there. And I mean, it was, oh my God, it was crazy. I mean, the whole thing, we had the lightning struck our generator and then we had to shut down in the middle of the shoot. While an actor, Pat Healy, was in like head to toe makeup. But the poor guy was like, I remember he couldn't see for a reason. If you've seen the movie, you know, he could not see. And he's sitting there like drinking a smoothie because he can't open his mouth and all this stuff too. And I remember he just takes my hand and he's like, Aaron, please tell me we're shooting soon. I'm like, well, we had a problem. It's because we already done hours of makeup, so we couldn't, stop and then come back. We had to shoot him that night.
Yeah.
And the power, so we had no power, and like it was.
Oh my God.
I'm like, Pat, I need you just to hold tight for me, buddy. I love you. Don't forget I love you, but it's gonna be a minute. And he just like squeezes my hand. I'm like, oh my God. So, but I had such a wonderful cast; they were cool with that. But yeah, we had everything thrown at us on this movie. Everything. Yeah.
That's intense. That's a lot.
It was, and even now it still is. We think back on it. We just did another shoot, and people were talking about. We just finished in Orlando, and people were talking about how hard that was. And I'm like, that was not hard at all. That was nothing. Let me tell you something about Oklahoma, April 2019. I got stories.
And then you break into song as you relay this horrible...
That's the only way to give bad news, is to do it in song.
Exactly, right?
Otherwise, it's just depressing.
Don't come at me with your bad news unless you're going to sing it to me.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
I'm just picturing him... hanging tight, because that's really all he could do at that point. I'm sure, knowing what that makeup is, I'm like, that's all he could do. Aaron was just hang tight,
pretty bad.
Sit in the corner, drink your smoothie, because you can't move until we come and get you.
Yeah, and he fell asleep like that too, which is really creepy.
Oh my God, that's
the way that he's there. Yeah, because I said that was my. Give me David Greathouse and Becky Ingram, who are my makeup artists, who are just like fantastic on the movie. And I was like, give me Sam Neill at the end of Event Horizon. That's what I want. I was like, oh, now more. And then I felt bad after I'm like, more. And then I'm like, okay, now you have to sit for 3.5 hours. Right. Like, oh God.
You're just drunk with power. More. And meanwhile, this poor actor is just like, oh God.
That's me on set. I take pride in the fact that I'm a very even kill. I never get too high or too low. But the one time I am always like, more is blood. I'm like, more blood. Like, splat. No, not enough. Especially on Scare Package. Like that was, we used 30 some gallons or whatever of blood.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was like, not enough.
How many gallons of blood on the Pale Door?
Well, we had different types of blood, right? So it was a little different because the witches had the black blood, so we could differentiate. Not nearly the same amount.
Okay.
We weren't really. I guess we did bathe in blood in a scene.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of.
Yes.
That right there probably was a good 15, 20 gallons. So
right.
I don't know. Yeah, pretty close.
That makes up for it then. Yeah, I think that puts them a little.
Oh, and then
closer.
we rain blood. Oh yeah, we rain blood
that's
too.
a lot of blood that you guys are going through.
Yeah, never mind. I guess it was. See, I forget how much blood we actually used. Like that's how bad it was. Oh, we had a blood pit.
Yes.
See, okay. Anyway. Okay. Sorry, I don't remember my own movie. Like, what am I doing? And
Aaron, have you seen this movie? Maybe I should have started the interview. Have you seen this movie before we talk about it?
It's like all hard. It's all like hard to like focus. Okay, Gotcha. Deal.
Great.
Blood, a lot of it.
Blood, lots of it. Bring it on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate the massive amounts of blood.
Good. It's a staple. It's a staple for everything we do. Yeah. Even when we just did, when I was just producing, and the other director like, oh, how can we shoot this? I'm like, I got an idea. If you do this, and you could like spray the blood back up, when they're doing this action, and it's like, and he's like, oh, that's pretty graphic. I'm like, if you want to do that, and then we did. And I was like, okay,
awesome. Nice.
So my staple's on there. So
that's your go-to suggestion. I'm just saying, like maybe if we just throw some blood on it.
Just throw some blood on it, and then all practical.
Yes,
like I can't. I wish I could talk more about what that movie is because there's a very large component in that film that I was like, we're not doing the CGI. Like this has to be practical, and we built a practical component that is basically. Let's just say we built a monster, and we built a monster that was mechanical and the whole thing. And I talked them into that and found a way to do it, and so that was definitely my stamp on that movie for sure. Yeah,
I'm very excited to see that.
yeah. I think people are gonna like it. It's cool.
Yeah, nice. The witches, their makeup was amazing and horrifying. There's a lot of things like it checked a lot of boxes for me. There's like eyeball horror, which I'm very squeamish about. There's burn horror, which I'm like incredibly squeamish about. Like this one time I poured boiling water on my bare foot and just like lost like a lot of skin just melted off. It was disgusting. But
oh God, like Freddy. That's so sad.
I was like, I'm gonna have a Freddy foot. And then it like was healed totally fine, like Wolverine, I guess. But So
Wow.
I'm very like squeamish about burn stuff, and there was like a heavy amount of that in this, and I was just like, oh my god. And then the way the witches move is very cool and terrifying.
Cool.
And it's in a way that also terrifies me. Like whenever I see that in something moving in that sort of way that they do, it scares the absolute shit out of me and gives me nightmares.
That's cool. I'm glad you noticed that, because we actually put a lot of time into just like the way that they maneuver and the way that they kind of turn around corners and all of that. And like 30 Days Night, that's one of the things I liked is like in the distance in 30 Days Night, there were always these, you could see the vampires like on the building in the background.
Yes.
And they're like all over the place in the Pale Door. I don't think people notice as much, but there's witches hidden all over whenever they're walking around and all. I mean, there's more obvious ones we like tilt up and move around, but there's others where cameras just passing by and they're just hiding, right in there and stuff. So
I feel like I almost always noticed it because I'm just like hyper tuned for it. Because I'm like, oh god, there's something crawling on the ceiling or the wall. Like, but now I want to rewatch it, like specifically looking in the background for hidden witches.
There's fun stuff. Yeah, it was fun. And it was fun to do, to get to play with witch lore like that. Like I said, I had this kind of affinity. That's a wrong thing for this like horrible atrocity that happened, which was the Salem witch trials. But just understanding what it was, I was fascinated by it, like in a true crime kind of way, right? And I was like, what happened here? Like, this is pretty horrific. And then I had read a story of a woman who was pregnant who tried to leave. And most people, were either hanged or stoned during that time period, but actually overseas, a lot of people were burned. But there was one story of a woman who fled, who was pregnant, and then was caught. And all she wanted to do was have her baby and not be killed. And then they caught her and burned her. And I was like, that is just the most horrific thing I've ever heard. And that really, I was like, well, I didn't want this to be cowboys good, witches evil, because it's not. It's all murky. And I think there's, an idea that we're trying to explore about hate begets hate, and that this is a learned behavior, and you make a conscious choice to like go the steps that you want to go. And a lot of that has to do with, the movie's very personal about my brother and my father, but then, also just about the origin of where these witches came from and then where these cowboys came from and the gang. And I wanted the witches to have a story that was, maybe when these people, these bigots, were so convinced that these women, because they were black and could talk different, were witches, that all of a sudden, maybe that hate created the first witches. And I was like, that's an origin story that's interesting to me. And then utilizing the burned motif, I was like, oh, now I could have them like, do the Roald Dahl style witches, but I could have them be burnt and fleshy and all that. And I was like, this is kind of cool. So the idea really was, if you took the Roald Dahl style witches and then burned them, this would be the look they would have. And that excited me, and I was like, okay, of course they can crawl on the wall and ceiling and do this other stuff. I mean, because when they're in this town, the idea is that the powers are very connected to this town and what's there, because that's where this evil was created and that's where it's kind of tied to. Not to give things away, but there's little hints to that, like Pearl, when she's in the trunk, is like covered in bruises, and then when she gets to the town, she has no bruises and stuff like that. And just little hints that you try to layer in that like the town has something to it, that's kind of there. But anyway, I'm rambling now. But yes, all of that was important to me to kind of explore. And it was just fun, to create your own lore with all of these amazing things to pull from was just something that Cameron and I in particular like really enjoyed doing.
There's a part where you reference like Mathers the Fourth, and I was like, I felt like such a nerd because I was like, oh, like yeah, like I got so excited for that because I also like in a true crime fascinated way am really intrigued by the witch trials. So yeah, and even like the town he says is Danvers, and Danvers, if you do the etymology of where that came from, the town, that is Salem. The real where it happened.
Yeah, so like if you say Salem, I felt like if you said the original line was Salem, and I was like, well, way up Salem's way. It's like they didn't call it Salem actually at that time. It was only called Salem then. So, for the folks that are willing to kind of, dive in, there's some things like that, hints. But yeah, we layered in a lot of that kind of fun stuff.
For nerds like me, you can say it, and I appreciated it.
And I mean, look, I make things that appeal to me, and luckily there are folks like yourself that they also appeal to. That works out,
Yes.
It validates it. So
absolutely. You said it was a deeply personal story having to do like your brother and your dad, and that's, I mean, it's a story of witches and cowboys and there's all that fun stuff to it, but really at the core of it, it is a story about brotherly love and kind of about what we're willing to sacrifice for the people that we love. So that was really was like the heart of the story, and then there's all this other cool shit built around that. Yeah,
because the story of my brother is an addict. And has been, for a while now, and we've been dealing with that as a family and helping him. And I've always kind of felt this reliance to, I keep going back. I just came back to Florida and I spent time with him again. We're trying to kind of help him the best that we can. And because that's, a lifelong struggle that you go through. And so I think when I was writing, I was thinking about my brother who had OD'd recently and had survived, but just, you deal with like the reality of what that could have been and what that means and the need to like want to be there for him and want to protect him, but you can't always.
Right.
So that started to really permeate the story. And then part of the reason why my brother has the problems he has is because of our father, who was not the person that we thought he was as a kid. And, I've obviously fictionalized this in a weird way, but the idea that, as kids, you like idolize your parents, then you realize that maybe they're not quite what you thought they were. And you then, and my mom though is a saint, just to be clear. But you realize it's, yeah, for the record, Mom, not that she would watch this, but just saying, she should, your show's great. But
your mom subscribes. You did not know this?
Oh my God, of course. Hey Mom, sorry, your dumplings were great over Thanksgiving. But yeah, so there was something there that I really, and I didn't realize I was trying to say. Like I said, the story kind of came out of that weird pitch idea that we had. And I was like, well, what are these characters going to be? And we had written some, the gang a little bit in that previous story, that script that wasn't working, I mentioned. But I needed the real through line, that made this all work. And all of a sudden, I remember Cameron's just like, so you're just writing about your dad and your brother here, right? And I'm like, oh God, yeah, that's really coming out, And I mean, so it became a thing. And even the speech with Lester and Jake in the church is similar to a moment that I had with my brother when I had to tell him the reality. It was like, so listen, I know you think Dad was this, and he actually was lying to you most of his life. And I learned that my father was a habitual liar. And I was like, okay, that's a hard thing to realize. And what does that mean? And then you can make that choice to either follow in their footsteps and deal with the stuff that's there, or you can say, I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to try and do something different. And I'm going to try and make something of my life outside of that. And that's really where the heart of this kind of centered and what I wanted to talk about. And then also mix it in too with this idea of, this gang of cowboys that kind of underestimates all these women that are around them at the same time too, who like they're looking at these colors in these threads that are colors, but they have no idea what the pattern of the quilt is that the witches clearly can see, and they're just toying with them. And I thought that was fun, to kind of deal with as well. But yeah, there's some stuff in there that we're trying to layer in. But then, again, I can't tell that story necessarily. Or I probably could have, just nobody would have bought it. But if I mix in cowboys and witches, now we got something, that's fun to say and do. So
that's all for me, all the best stuff has something really amazing at the heart of it like that. And then you just build this weird, fun world around it, especially in horror. That's always the best horror for me, is there's something at the heart of it. And then you just have this fun, like scary gore and disgusting blood splattered stuff around like this core of the story.
That's what makes horror so special.
Hell yes.
I mean, as a kid, the thing was that movie where that dog changed as a kid. Now the thing is like the social political commentary on like understanding ourselves and identity and everything. That's like, whoa, there's so much more going on.
Right.
And I did not realize that as a kid, but I enjoyed it as a kid. And now it's a masterpiece as an adult. So, and I think that's what really good horror can do. And let me be clear, I am not comparing what I do to the thing. But I strive for that. Like that is what excites me and that is what I want to do. And, and I have had some folks that had watched The Pale Door in particular and were like, I called my brother after and all this. And I was like, oh, that's really great, and sweet. So that's something that I do hope happens. But I think that surprises people because especially folks that saw Scare Package, they're expecting this like over the top the entire time and that's there. And we have that's in there. But, I have other sensibilities and I like to play with tone. That's just something that I like to do, and that sets some people off. It's so interesting because the critiques of this film are they're polar opposites. It's either, why are this brother stuff? I just want all witches and gore. And they're like, why are this witches and gore? I love the brother stuff, and I want the cowboys. And it's, I'm like, yeah, but that's my sensibilities, Like, right. I love watching, The Wild Bunch, and I love watching The Descent. So I wanted to find a way to combine those. And, that works for some folks, and maybe not, but I had fun. So
that's a good description of the mashup. Wild Bunch and meets The Descent.
Yeah, I mean that 310 to Yuma was another one we talked about a lot. But yeah, like any of those westerns, in this kind of mixing this kind of world, I think really was what we were trying to do, and which is hard. I do not recommend people try to make period horror, by the way. Like horror's hard enough with all the gags, and then period with like the western aspects, and especially when you do it in Oklahoma during tornado season. That's so don't do that.
Unless you're gonna like film it and like make the tornado part of it or something, you know.
We
like
talked about that. We talked about that, but there's these legalities about putting crew in front of tornadoes.
Oh goodness, typical.
Yeah, that was a real moment. There was like, oh, why don't we film the tornadoes? I'm like, wait, no, we can't put the crew. What am I? Never mind. That was stupid. Aaron, shut up. And then just like everybody get back in the shelter. You know.
That's such like a filmmaker, like a half second, like, but maybe no, that's stupid. That doesn't make sense. That's not safe.
Well, it's like in Super 8 where the one kid and like the train's coming by and he's like, production value.
Yes.
That's me, and I'm like, let's do it. Like the witches caused a tornado. Let's do it. And I'm like, no, that's not safe. Never mind. So that's why you have people around me that keep like my ideas in check, because I just go off. So.
They're just gonna reel you back in, like, okay, come on,
that is
out of
Cameron
the tornado.
Burns. Yeah, that's Cameron Burns. He's always like, Aaron, what are you doing? We can't afford that at all. This is too crazy. Tone it down, you know? Like
I know, but it's a free tornado. We can get a tornado for free. It's right here.
Yeah, it's right.
We're here. It's here. Just just roll camera.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
If you're not comfortable, just go back in the shelter. The people that are. Look, I'm talking myself into this. No, I'm not. I run a lot of crews now. We don't do anything like that.
No,
never allowed.
Never.
Yeah. No.
Everyone needs a Cameron in their life, also.
That's so true. That's oh god. Now he's gonna have to see this, and he's gonna be like, yes, and he's gonna point at the screen, and he's like, I knew it.
I can just see him wagging his finger at it right now. Damn it, Aaron! No,
Yeah.
no tornadoes.
And then he's like, that's me. I do solve it. Yeah. So he's gonna be proud. He's gonna be proud of himself now.
He's gonna be pissed at you for a second, then be like, yeah, that's me, reeling him back in.
Yeah. That kind of explains our working relationship. So.
Good call, Cameron. For the record, thank you for keeping everyone safe.
It's good.
So you guys filmed in Oklahoma. Did you? Was there like an existing Western town that you found as like a set piece?
Yeah. Well, so my company's based out of Austin. It's our main offices. And so I was trying to find a place that was relatively close by because I thought we were going to do it in Texas because it's a Western. There should be opportunities for that. But I couldn't really find the right town that was really economical for what we needed. And yeah, this was in just outside of Oklahoma City, a town called Guthrie. And I found this like Old West wedding venue. And people go out there and they do Old West weddings and stuff. And originally I was going to do more to the town and kind of add on to it. But then we kind of ran out of some money. And so I had to kind of use a little bit more of what we had. But it was there was something about it that was fun for me. The idea that people came there to like profess their love. And then I was going to do the horrible things I was going to do. And if that doesn't say anything about my cynical nature of all of that world, then yes. So that was appealing to me. And that was kind of fun. And then we built the church on that ground too, because shockingly, Oklahoma is not cool with us turning churches upside down and stuff. And the things that we did.
That's so weird. Okay.
Yeah, it was not a thing for them.
Got some weird laws.
yeah, that was sacrilegious. So, the exact words said. Yeah. In fact, we had a lot of people in Oklahoma who refused to work on this movie when they read the script. Yeah.
Wow.
That happened. So again, Oklahoma was great. I loved being there. Had great crew, wonderful, folks that work with the film office and everything. But there's a lot of churches, and I was doing things that were not, hi mom, church friendly.
Okay.
Since she's a subscriber, she knows.
She knows.
So yeah.
So you had. I don't think this gives anything away, but there's like kind of there's two towns basically. So was that all this wedding venue place that you guys found? Is that all on one street? And did you use anything as like a double location, or did you film like half is one town, half is like another?
So there's one main kind of like once they arrive to that town at night where the witches take them, the Potemkin, that is all one contained town, and that's actually where we lived. So like the brothel rooms and stuff, that's where the crew was staying. So like
you lived in the brothel. Okay.
We all lived there. Yeah, we all lived there. There was a house right behind the one main house that's like facing where the saloon brothel was. And I lived there, and then Cameron was in the master bedroom closet, and he lived there. And
in the closet.
It was a big closet though. It had a window and a ceiling fan. So I mean,
okay. It's like a fancy Harry Potter. Okay.
Yes, that's so funny.
Bougie
yes,
Harry
exactly.
Potter. Okay.
Yes, of course. So we had that, and we all kind of stayed there, and we just kind of crowded in, which was cool because you'd wake up on set and kind of have this whole environment. But then the other town was that was like it was real. The actual saloon where we first shot in, that saloon is a real 1890s saloon that's been maintained this whole time. There's actually in the Dalton Gang, which this is like loosely based on, and we call them the Dalton Gang, but it's a fictionalized version. There's actually bullet holes in that wall from where the Dalton gang was shooting people in there. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, that's a real saloon, and there's some modernized elements that we try to hide and cover up, but other than that, it's a real saloon. And then the town, he had built this town around that, this little like fake Western town. So we used that for just our little shootout portion, and then left there. And then the other location was just the kid's house that we used for the beginning and the end.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's awesome. I love that. My dad is a huge fan of Westerns. He's like kind of a cowboy and grew up. Have you been to Joshua Tree?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so he grew up around in Yucca Valley, which is right by Joshua Tree, but there's Pioneer Town there. So my grandma like worked there often, and is like my great grandma had a restaurant there. So like my family has a ton of history there. So I grew up going there. So it's very nostalgic for me when I see like Western towns and stuff on
yeah, that would have been one of the dream places to shoot if we could have. That's such a cool place. Yeah.
Love it. That's fun. Cool. But the spur in the mouth, that part was like, that got me good.
Oh, yeah. That's been there since the original. Like the very, very first draft, one of the first things I ever did, because I wanted to have a character like that. And I was like, well, how can I, without having like a speech or something, like show what this character is like? And that's where we did the Dodd Spur scene. So, yeah, and that had stayed the whole time. That was one of the only pieces of script that never changed from the very beginning to like the very end.
You knew that was going to be in there either way.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I liked it. I thought there was something fun. I like playing with teeth, sounds of teeth and stuff. They mess me up too, so that's why it makes me cringe than the idea that reaction would happen.
It's making me so uncomfortable just talking about it right now.
Yeah, we kept adding, that's another one of my more moments, where I was like, give me more sounds of the metal hitting the teeth and all this, and so we went for it. That was Holt Boggs who did that and put the spur in his mouth, and he's such a trooper. We made like a little fake one, dulled down one. But that was a lot of fun. Yeah, I liked that bit. And I really like what Greg McLennan, my editor, kind of like we talked about doing, because that was a moment where we did the dark and the light and kind of mixed Jake, who's like with this woman who's hurt, and he can't kill her. He can't, take a step forward. And then you have Dodd, and Jake's wearing white, and you have Dodd is wearing black, and he's just like toying with someone and putting spurs in their mouth and all this kind of horrible things. But it was nice to show them on those paths, like on opposite sides, so that they can converge, toward the end. But yeah.
It was like a vintage version of Bite the Curb. Like, oof.
We referenced that. We talked about that in American History X. Yeah, we talked about that scene, and the sound of the teeth on the curb in American History X was something that we thought about. Yeah. And then when Pat's biting the glass, Wiley is biting the glass, that also was like one of those things. I was like, ooh, that could be, there's something, all those kind of things play with it.
It's one of those things that just like works its way into your psyche, and then it never ever leaves you. So thank you for that.
Oh, good. That's great. That's
appreciate all the trauma you have put me through.
Love it. That's good trauma though. It's good.
It's the fun kind of trauma.
I love how I'm just saying, like, I'm saying your trauma is good. Like, that's
it's
great.
Good. It's good. No, when I say that, I mean that in a complimentary fashion. So it's definitely good, or good for you at least.
Yeah, but if it's still trauma, I can't say, anyway. Yeah, right. Sorry, I digress. Yeah.
Sir, who are you to say? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, what am I doing? So.
You also had a very kick-ass cast on this. Are there certain people that you had in mind very early on, or how did this all come about?
Yeah, well, the first person first off, there's always Noah Segan's in everything that I do, so there was always going to be a part for Noah. So I wrote that part for Noah. I love the way he plays the comedic timing bits and stuff, and I had loved what he was doing in Knives Out, and even though that came out somewhere, but I knew what his character was like in that. Mm-hmm. And then same in Looper, even he kind of plays this kind of clumsy, goofy guy. And I just thought it'd be fun to have that in the gang. And I knew he was going to be in. But yeah, so there's Noah. Then Jeremy King, who's in Scare Package, was always going to be something that I was going to have in. So I had to kill him because I have I kill him in every movie too.
Had to kill him. It's in the contract.
Yeah. No, he will be killed in every movie I direct. Like 100%. I will find a way. But yeah, and then the one in particular that I really wrote for an actor that I did not know was Melora Walters. So like she was... I'm a huge Paul Thomas Anderson fan, and Magnolia is, I'm going to have the outline of Magnolia tattoo, but like, it's one of the reasons why I make movies, and her look at the end of Magnolia like really, really changed me. I decided that week after seeing that movie that I was going to go to film school, and it was just such a huge influence on me. So I could have just named the character Melora, but I like to have different names, so just changed it to Maria. But that was the whole thing, and and we've become good friends since. I was actually just texting with her today, and that's like such a surreal, crazy thing
That's
to me
cool.
because, it was just, this movie and this moment and like what she did, her look at the end of that movie that affected me so much that made me want to create something like that or strive to. Dear God, I can't make things like that. I hope to one day. But, to strive to that and give you that North Star of something that just can evoke so much craft and emotion out of a performance of someone. And then to be able to hire her, in this movie was like, I cried. So totally cried. I wrote her a letter. I wrote her a letter, and I'm just like, oh my God, And then she's my muse, and we've been friends ever since, and it's just wonderful. And that was there. So that was getting Melora was so amazing. And then David Guglielmo, my casting director, I was like, look, I kind of want to do the Avengers of indie horror actors, like just the unknown secondary characters in all these movies that I love that don't get the time to shine, and Stan Shaw, who steals every scene he's in every movie. And I was like, I want, Stan's perfect. Because I remember Monster Squad, and as a kid with my mom, who, again, watching right now, of course, she loved Fried Green Tomatoes. And I remember her always being like, that guy there, that Stan Shaw, that's his name? He's good. He's good. And I remember that as a kid,
Right.
And so to get to hire him, was really, really great. And then I had known Pat a little bit from Starry Eyes, which I was a producer on, and so got to know him. So I knew I wanted Pat in something and had to find the right thing. Pat was actually a last-minute replacement because a bunch of actors were shifting, and it's in ensembles like this, and you hire really talented people, their schedules are always completely insane. So it was hard for us to juggle, but I'm so glad I got to work with Pat in this facility. And then, Bill Sage. Oh my God, Bill's like, I loved him in We Are What We Are. He's such an amazing character actor, and Joe Lansdale had worked with him a few times as well, and they were buddies, so that was like a no-brainer. And then I love Zach Knighton. I love Happy Endings. I think that's such a funny show, and not enough people talk about it. And I thought it was like the New Girl before New Girl, in my opinion. And so he was so wonderful, but I knew that he had the chops. I knew that he wanted, and Noah and him had been friends. So Noah's like, look, he wants to do something like this. And I was like, oh, he's good. I remember him in the Hitcher remake and with Sean Bean. And I was like, this guy's got it. Like, Zach's a really good actor. So, and I needed somebody charismatic as Duncan that could kind of be this, that just kind of had, I wanted someone handsome and gruff that could kind of pull this off and be, that typical leader of the gang kind of, facility. And he had that in spades. I mean, he came in as a cowboy, and I gave him his hat when we left, and he's ridiculous.
Nice.
But I love Zach. And then, goodness. Oh, and then Tina Parker to play Brenda was amazing. Like, again, she steals these scenes in Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. And, so all of these folks, and then I had to surround them, basically with my Jake, and find him. So we were on a search for our Jake for a while. And then I remember I'd watched one of the seasons of 13 Reasons Why, and I was like, oh, this kid's, I wrote his name down. I was like, he's really, really good. And, and then, we chatted, and he's who gives me hope for the next generation of humans. Like, if I'm like, when I get, upset about politics in the world and things that are going on, and I'm like, well, maybe this next generation is going to be good. And like,
that is such the compliment.
Devin Druid is everything that is good on this earth. And he's like so understanding of the opportunities that he has, and like, he bought his mom a house with what he's doing, and he's so great with like his family and and what he's trying to do, and he's really trying to kind of elicit change, and he's trying to be good in the world, and he just was great. And him and Zach they have similar eyes and noses, so it was just like perfect. And then even the one kind of unknown in the gang was James Whitecloud, who played Chief, and that was a really important character for me because, number one, you're just a part of this gang this entire time, and I wanted him to evoke all this emotion by being a mute, and I wanted him to play homage to the Chief character in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which is one of my favorite movies ever. And that is actually his great uncle.
What?
He is that actor. Yeah. It's unbelievable. So, like, the reason why he's an actor is because his uncle, who, I can't remember his name right now. Oh my goodness, I can't remember his name. But he was the actor in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and that's what got him, as a young kid, to say, I want to be an actor like my uncle. And then to get to hire him to play this part as an homage to this family member of his is just amazing. And James is so talented. In fact, when we got there, I was like, oh, maybe I should beef up the role. But then we had this whole ensemble. I was like, oh, I don't even know what, it was already going to get too long and all this. And so I hope to work with him again and give him more, that people, show off what he can do, because he's such a great actor. But yeah, I mean, we're extremely Natasha Bassett. Sorry, Natasha, who plays Pearl. Also amazing. I saw her in a scene in the Coen Brothers film. Which one was it? But she again, another person that you're like watching a movie and they steal a scene, and that we had all these people, and I was like, well, let's give them all moments. Let's give each of them like a moment to shine. And that's what I try to do with my actors. And I'm completely in awe with what they do. And I'm so lucky that everybody agreed to do this movie. So it was great. It's so cool. I love all of them so much. And you'll hear a lot of people talk about, I love my actors. And then behind the scenes, they're really like, I'm never working with that person again and all this stuff. That is not the case. I truly adore all of them. And, we're doing this, another piece real quick, this Q&A for Saturday night. And they're just all like, oh, I can't wait. We're so excited. And we're going to do the Q&A together and all this, because we didn't get to have our group screening due to COVID. So we're kind of treating our Shudder premiere a little bit as a group screening. And it's really exciting. But they're just lovable, great humans. And I'm really, really lucky to have had them.
I love the cast. I love the movie. But what I love the most is hearing you talk about how you love the cast, because I feel like it genuinely like exudes from you and you're like beaming, and it feels so genuine. Like you fucking love this cast, and I love that.
I do. Like, I'm just so grateful, it's a low budget movie, and these are people who are doing all these amazing things, and they didn't have to do this, like they did it because they believed in the script and they believed in the project. And, everyone on this movie like broke their backs to get this thing made. And I just, to have this like weird idea and to get these people to like come together and like, yeah, I want to support that. I want to do it. Like, I'm so humbled. And they're just people I've loved my whole life, and I'm like, why are you doing this for me? Like what is going on? So it's great.
Because it's a cool project, Aaron, because it was a cool project. And they're like, hell yeah, we want to sign up for that. Why wouldn't we sign up for that?
Yeah, I mean, they did. It was too late at that point. And I was like, we have them. Yeah.
You're mine now.
Yeah, more blood.
So technically, today, The Pale Door drops on Shudder, and Saturday night is a scene or watch party, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
scene or watch party.
Is that through Fangoria?
Yeah, it's through Fango, and we're doing, which is cool, because originally we were working with Fango on the movie, and then like all this stuff happened, and then we weren't working with Fango on the movie anymore. So now to have like the new Fango come back around and help with the movie, it's like, okay, cool. There's a small tidbit. If you actually watch the commentary track at the very beginning, you'll hear a chainsaw sound that plays the commentary. It's the Fangoria chainsaw that we didn't even move when we changed the commentary. Wow. So you still hear it. It's funny. So there's remnants for when that whole unfortunate situation happened.
Yeah.
But I'm glad. I'm grateful to Tara and the new folks at Fango for giving us a platform, letting us talk about our movie, which is really cool. So yeah, we're doing that Saturday night, and should be a lot of fun. And we'll put some interesting tidbits, and then I'll probably start posting some cool. We have so many insane behind the scenes photos of this movie that I've like held on to for so long. I'll start posting some of those like on Twitter and stuff and Instagram, and
sweet
showing fun weird witchy stuff. So,
yeah, that's a good band name, or maybe an album name.
Weird witchy stuff.
Fun weird witchy stuff.
Yeah.
There's weird and there's fun weird.
That's true. The FWWS. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they're good. Sure, that works. It's not nearly as good after you said that.
Rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah.
I was there for it, and then you ruined it. Okay.
I mean, it's okay.
It's what I do. It's what I do.
Yeah, but it is fun to have.
Let me kill it.
No, but it is fun to have. Yeah, exactly. That's what I do, right? To have because when you have these people who are going through, head to toe makeup for like 4 hours to do these witches, and they're people, and then they're like hanging out and they're drinking smoothies and all this stuff, and then they're hanging, like James Whitecloud brought his daughter, and there's like a really funny moment where it's like Bill Sage, and he's talking to one of the witches who he became friends with, and then the daughter's like playing with the witches, and they're like playing, and it's like this adorable photo, and it's just those kind of moments on set that can never happen,
right.
that until you have all of these elements together. And it's I have some like hilarious videos of just Bill reading a book. He was always reading a book in the background, and then I would like pan over to somebody else, and it's a witch, and she's like falling asleep in a chair, like in all witch makeup, So it was funny.
Behind the scenes from like specifically from horror movies are always the best because you have the weird shit, like somebody that's just fucking covered in blood or like burnt or like in latex and weird makeup and a monster, and then normal life happening next to them, and then they're doing something like sipping coffee, you know, like that Boris Karloff drinking his tea. Like those kinds of pictures are the best. Yeah,
what is the one with I think it's the Michael Myers, and he's like drinking with his helmet, you know,
with the Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, like stuff like that. Or there's aliens sitting on the the aliens sitting on the apple box and stuff like that. Just, I love stuff like that. Yeah, it's so crazy. So
that is one of my greatest joys in life. So please start posting those behind the scenes.
For you.
For me specifically, you heard it here first. All right, there it is.
Deal.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, you ready for these questions?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. I did not get... Okay. Yes, I'm ready. You had told me about them, and I was like, I need to prep, but then I've been calls right up until this moment. I know what they are. Okay, I'm good. But I'm good.
You don't really need to prep. I just send them so people aren't like, oh, they don't like freak out like on the spot. It's more just so it's like, in case you're the kind of person who like will freak out on the spot, I'll send them to you so you don't freak out, you know?
No, I'll freak out after the spot, if that makes sense.
Yes,
and then I'll be like, what did I do? What did I say? Was that awful? Like, oh God, that was embarrassing. That's what I'll do later.
I'm having to message you and be like, are you freaking out after the spot again?
Yes. Anytime you see me post anything that I'm in, I guarantee you after that, I'm like, oh, it was probably awful.
Oh God.
That's what I just think of every time. So, okay, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Who's your favorite final girl?
Ginny. So, okay, well, here's my first inclination would be, you know, like Ripley, Alien, I think makes a lot of sense. You know, and then, I mean, Heather... There's also, but I love Ginny in Friday the 13th Part 2. Like, I think as kind of a more lesser known, you know, final girl who just changes, because especially during that time period, you have to think about this because she was not, you know, she wasn't a virgin, right, in that, but still was a final girl. Mm-hmm. She's like, you know, owning some dude in chess, you know, in games. There's like all these moments where she's subtly, you know, showing up all the men in the movie. Like there's a guy who comes to like to fix her car or something, whatever it is. And he's like, typical mansplaining, like, here's what you do. And she's just like, okay, dude. And like turns it on when his head's on there. And he's like, oh, never mind, you know, things like that. And she owns her character. And I think that was something really nice. There's also a really good moment where, you know, in the typical Friday the 13th lore, which I love Friday the 13th, but the way, you know, you see the woman that's undressing and like, okay, this is going to be like a nudity scene, like a typical nudity scene. But then with Ginny, she takes off her clothes and then she immediately puts more clothes on. And then from that point on, she doesn't take off her clothes again. And I think it's like she owns herself in a different way to still become the final girl. And I just think that's really, really cool. And when we were doing Scare Package, because I had two final girls for the end that were kind of like switching and it was like a twist. And I had them, I was like, look, watch Ginny and watch Ginny in the background. I think it's named Amy Lee. Is Amy Lee? I can't remember the name of the actress, but watch the way that she's like constantly like rolling her eyes and like, oh, these guys, and the frustration that she has with all the men who have no idea what they're doing. And I thought that was really great. So if you watch like Zoe Graham's character in Scare Package in particular, in the background, she's always like, what is going on? Like, the whole time. And it's very much an homage to Ginny. So I think Ginny, Friday the 13th Part 2 is fantastic.
I very much appreciate that answer. I'm a Ginny fan, so I really like that. And I don't really hear her brought up very often. Like not as often as she should be, but
look, there's icons, right?
Yes.
You know, there's the Heather Langenkamps and you know, Sigourney Weavers and these that are there and should be that are, you know, but everybody's going to talk about those. But Ginny needs a little love too. Ginny's good. Yeah.
Hashtag love for Ginny. Let's get it going. All right.
Deal.
What is your most traumatic horror experience? It can be with a movie or real life horror experience.
Oh God, real life horror experience. I mean, that's a different podcast. I think.
It's gonna get dark.
I mean, you know, well here. So horror experience, like horror movie experience. Okay. I would say, so the only thing that scares me in movies is aliens. Like, but like specifically the like gray aliens with like the big eyes and it's really because statistically they exist, right? So like some of the smartest people in the world are like, there are definitely aliens out there, you know? And I hear these people say this and I'm like, well, then what does that mean? Like, so if we know that statistically there are aliens out there, then maybe this is true. Maybe they're real. So that like kind of messes with my head. Whereas everything else I can like rationalize. You know, like I don't believe in ghosts and things like that and all that and those things. So this is that's the one that like I can't rationalize.
Okay.
So it messes with me. So there was a movie, Christopher Walken, Communion, that came out in the mid '80s. And I don't know where I saw it or what the situation necessarily was, but he like wakes up and he's basically like stuck to the bed, and there's these aliens all around him. And I had that reoccurring nightmare multiple times. Like I would wake up and the aliens were sitting there, and I mean, I would scream. Like I would scream as a kid. It was so bad. Fire in the Sky messed me up a little bit too, in the same kind of world. But just that particular moment, I don't know what it is. This is the angle that they shot it. I can't remember the director either, but the angle that they shot it from, like the back of the bed, and it was really kind of a POV kind of shot. So when Walken's like sitting up, it's like you in bed, and then you see them like right there. And you're just like, oh my god, like I can't take it. And also the little like the wavy arms. Ooh,
How's that?
you know what I mean? I mean that's what they do, right? And they have anyway. It's not good. It's not good. So those are. That reoccurring dream like freaked me out. And then the first time I saw Alien also, but for a different reason, because like that actually wasn't, that alien doesn't scare me in the way that like the Greys do, if you will.
Yeah, right. The Greys.
But yeah, it's a thing. But and they probably built Stonehenge, So let's not get into all this. But that the first time I saw Alien was a movie that I did not know that I could be scared like that, like as a kid, just the tension and all of that. So that really, like that night I could not sleep at all. And I was at my friend Matt White's house, and it was a Sunday night. We had like got like a Tombstone pizza after church with my family, and we snuck around and we went and bought the pizza from this grocery store. And then there was always the little VHS rental place in a grocery store back then. So we like snuck it in like under like Weekend at Bernie's or something. I don't remember what it was. And we're like, oh, just this. And like managed to like slide it in, and his dad didn't notice. And then we watched it, and we shouldn't have. We should not have watched that movie as kids because it was really scary. So that was probably another one. Yeah.
That's a good one. I always love that. And I watched it and I shouldn't have. I snuck this movie and I damn well should not have been watching it.
Yeah. Because I watched a lot of stuff I grew up on Joe Bob Briggs, and I watched a lot of stuff on like his Monster Vision, but those were always edited. Because I wasn't allowed to watch horror films as a kid. My mom was very restrictive. Hi, Mom. Sorry. And, she would not allow that. And so I had to sneak around, to do all this stuff. So it made those experiences like very singularly unique and scary to me, because it was like this was this moment and I had to be so focused on it, or I had to like hide in a closet. And I remember hiding and watching Nightmare on Elm Street in the closet and stuff like that, like things like that. So yeah.
I just picture you in the closet, not a fancy bougie Harry Potter closet like you had in Oklahoma, but just a regular closet. No. And you're like just watching through the crack.
I pulled the TV like all the way over there, pulled the door, and I couldn't get it to close all the way. And I'm like, using my clothes to like hide the, everything. And yeah, I totally did that.
Oh my God, I love it. I also love kid rationalization. You know what I mean? Like, let me hide in this freaking closet and I'll be safe from here. I just have my clothes surrounding me, totally safe, and I can watch from the comfort of the closet.
There was something, well, it's also like enclosed, like nobody's sneaking up on me because I know what's in there. But also, it's also my mom. I couldn't let my mom find me and hear it, because if she heard that, there weren't like headphones you could plug in back then, or whatever. So I had to be like further away, and I hated turning it down too low because I wanted to hear it. So that was part of it too. It was all a combination. So I was really thinking things through.
You basically had a movie screening room. You had a mini movie theater. You had like a baby man cave situation happening.
I kind of did. Well, I also remember going to see Howard the Duck with my parents when I was a kid at the drive-in. And I remember my dad had a moonroof, and I would sit at the top and my feet would like dangle. And then behind me, they were playing Dream Warriors. And I was like, whoa. And I would turn around and like watch Dream Warriors, from there. And that was what made me want to see it. So I went and found my friend, actually Sean Talley, who's now a partner with Paper Street. He was the one who had a copy of it on VHS that he had recorded. So he gave me a copy, and I snuck into my closet to watch it after that. So it was all like multiple layers of deceit there. So.
I love this. See, I love the instant access that we have to things. It's super convenient, streaming and such. But you really had to work for it back in like the 80s growing up. You had a friend who recorded it on VHS. You know what I mean? Like you had to work for this shit. You couldn't just like randomly get it, or even if the video store had it, but your parents wouldn't let you get it, you had to be creative with your deceit.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it is kids these days.
Right.
They're so lucky.
They have it so easy.
Yeah. I mean, I remember being in film school, and there was it's still there. It's called Stardust Video in Orlando. I went to Full Sail in Orlando, and there was this, and they had this like cult video room in the back, and we would go there, and we would literally like blind ourselves and just turn around and then point, and then get whatever movie it was. Usually some trauma stuff or some weird things or whatever. But even that was like, there was no database to like know what this stuff was or figuring this. It was just, I mean, I guess it probably was something on the internet, but like we didn't really know that at the time.
Yeah.
So, this is like early 2000s, and it just was, But I mean, those experiences were great to like discover something in like a weird way, I think is a, underrated moment to kind of have. So, but there's still, I think that now there's so much stuff that's out there that you could still discover something on Netflix or whatever too, I guess, or Shudder. I would recommend
on Shudder. Yes.
I should be promoting Shudder. What am I doing?
Come on, man, get it together.
What's up? Sorry.
No, you totally could, but it's just there's something so fucking charming about like in the video store with your friends and then picking something based honestly on the cover, and then maybe you read the synopsis and you're like, okay, yeah, this sounds cool. And then you find the weirdest shit. You go home and you're with your friends and you're like, this is way fucking weirder than I ever could have even imagined. Like, what are we watching right now?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that happened all the time. It's like, what the hell is this? And then you look up that director and like, that's the same guy?
Right.
No way, like, whatever. Or it's like, remember the killer? Like, all those moments would happen, and that just became a really fun thing. And that's why, Scare Package takes place at a video store, and
yes.
that was part of that. And those conversations between Sam and, Chad and stuff were a little of me and my friends and our dorkiness of just like, you haven't seen this? Like, clear your schedule, stupid shit like that. So, yeah.
Well, that's why it's so great, though, because it's like people that grew up in that, and grew up to be that are watching this, and it's like, hell yeah, yes, it's this.
Yeah.
It's exactly like this. That's me talking to my friends. Like, this is amazing.
Yes, completely. That's what it was. And we would do those little tests with each other and stuff. And look, there is a world of like horror gatekeeping that I think we need to be better about. And I think there's something to do with, just understanding the fandom of it. But like when you are when I think of that moment in Scare Package in particular, it's more so not like, are you worthy of talking to me about horror? It's more like my friends and I who would compete with each other.
Right.
About like, I was the Jason Voorhees guy and he was the Freddy guy. And I'm like, no, Freddy be telling a stupid joke by the time, and Jason's one cutting off his head and, whatever. He's like, no, Freddy would get into his dream. And I'm like, when does Jason sleep? Like, come on, and you get into that world, and that's what those things were about for me, not creating, because, horror needs to be, and is being explored by all these new people and all these different shapes, sizes, and identity, everything, and it's wonderful, and that's a really, really cool thing. So there is a gatekeeping thing we can be better about, but there is something fun about those like horror nerds fighting against each other.
100%.
About what we liked, our favorite kills and stuff like that. And I still love that and miss that.
Gatekeeping, not fun. Having nerdy ass arguments with your friends who are on the same level into that stuff, that's super fun.
Yeah, exactly.
The most fun.
You're ridiculous. Come on, it's a sleeping bag kill. Come on, everybody knows that.
And then anyone watching that from an outside perspective is like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Yeah. But there's somebody also watching now who's like, yeah, sleeping bag kill, part 7, New Blood. Yes, that's
exactly.
I know it. And somebody else is like, no, it's Jason X when his face goes in. Yeah. So it's like,
well, that's why I so loved that the first time I saw Scare Package was on Joe Bob. And that was like the perfect avenue for it, because fucking everybody watching that, was like, no, it was a sleeping bag kill. No, it was definitely this in part 8, like, yeah. It was a whole audience of people who literally have that conversation with their friends taking that in.
Yeah, and it's so crazy. Like that whole night was so unbelievably special. And I mean, I directed Joe Bob. I know John, and I've gotten to know him, and he's just like a wonderful, caring person. And I could say that from every experience I've had. And but then to see when the movie was actually playing on his show, and then for him to be like, Joe Bob, says, check it out. And I mean, I truly I cried again. I mean, it was just like this moment of like, oh my God, like I watched this growing up. This was a thing. And here it is again. And he's showing our movie and he's talking about it. And it just was like this crazy thing. And we couldn't tell anybody. We couldn't tell anybody that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And so it was so cool. My phone actually crashed because Twitter went nuts at that moment. And I mean, yeah, I even searched. There was a night I was really down, and I went back and searched for some of the tweets from that night, and was looking back, and I was like, oh, what a great, and it helped me
Yeah.
back up, and helped me get through that day.
Like relive that joy of that moment a little bit. Hell yeah.
Yeah, and just the way that people responded. I mean, that was the thing. It was just these people that I don't know who were just like, oh my God, this is like this, and they remembered this, and the way they were, and it's, I try to be very active with everyone who's talking about the movies that we make, because I just want them to know that like how much we appreciate it, and how much it matters. Because like I see it, and the good and the bad, and I look at it and I try to engage. And people who haven't like things, and I usually stay out of that the best I can, but every now and then they'll say something like, hey, I appreciate your opinion on that, and I would love to talk to you about that. And also I want to learn. I had Kate Sanchez, who's a wonderful critic, and she pointed out a part in Scare Package that she thought could have been handled better. And I was like, you know what, you're 100% right. And I love that I was able to, not crediting me, but I mean, that she was able to articulate that. And I'm like, ooh, that's a note for me to be better, especially as like a white filmmaker, and like what I can do and things that I can do. So I was like, okay, that's good to know. And, try to learn from that. So I we listen, but the people that, engage and love this stuff, and it means the world. It's like the best feeling in the world. And I can speak for all the directors in Scare Package too. Like we were all so like, oh my God, this night is insane, It's so cool. So it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I did not know you yet. That's like when I first came to know you, and we started talking via Twitter because of that night on Scare Package. But I was like, I don't even know this guy, but I'm so freaking excited for him right now, because I just felt like you were, again, just exuding joy. Like I can tell that you're a fan and you love what you do. But the most important thing, you appreciate those moments when they happen. And I can tell that you're like, you look back. I'm a very nostalgic person. So I feel like I'm very much the person who's like, oh, like to think about like, growing up watching Joe Bob and then having your movie play on Joe Bob, like what? Like that's just so I can tell that you like are just exuding this joy and appreciation for it. And I was just like, this guy's awesome. He's a genuine dude, and I love him. Oh,
that's impossibly sweet. I mean, one of the things I say when I talk with film students is just you work so hard. And these movies take, Scare Package was 2.5 years, and all this, and you work so hard, and there's so many moments where you're like, oh my God, am I going to make it through this? And for the Pale Door, I mean, I literally passed out and had to go to the hospital because I was so exhausted. Yeah, on New Year's Day, from when I was editing and everything, we were trying to make a deadline for South by Southwest at the time, and didn't really end up mattering anyway. We hadn't gotten in, but we were trying to work that out. And then, I hadn't slept. I was only sleeping when the render would come out from Adobe Premiere, and the ding I turned on really loud. So
oh my God.
So I would just sleep for like those hour little blocks. And this was over the course of like 3-4 days. And I just collapsed. I fell and I hit my head, and I woke up and I had like blood all over me and everything. And that was a bad more blood. That should have been less blood.
That's, no bueno blood.
That was not the good. Yeah, no bueno blood. And that was, like a wake up call for me. I'm like, wow, I am pushing myself too hard, and I have to be careful. And, so you put so much into these things to like make these things happen. And there's so many factors that kind of come in, and, and I'm very hard on myself with all that stuff. But then what I've talked to film students is like, look, you're going to go through all this in Sarah, but when you have a moment, celebrate it. Like just celebrate it. Like take it in, because that's what you're doing this stuff for. It's for those moments. So you just got to relish in it and take it and remember it and record everything you can about it. And, all of this, because you're going to, I ever have a kid, that's what I would like, hey, there was a day. They're like, who's Joe Bob Briggs? But I'm like, if you would have known.
Disowned.
So, we'll get a JBB Jr. by that time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. JBBJ.
JBBJ. JBBBB. JBBJ.
Yeah. Something like that.
Let's just add a lot of B's. It's cool.
Sure. Joe Bob. Like
a beatbox situation.
Oh, yeah. This is bad. We're going off. Back, derail.
All right, I got one last question for you then.
Sure.
If you're the final girl, you're about to mow down all of your enemies. What song do you have playing for your kill montage?
Shit. That's right, you asked that. Okay. Okay. So I feel like, what was it I said? I wrote, I know what it was. So I was thinking of like Metric or something upbeat, or, maybe like the XX or, M83, something in that world that could be more dramatic. But I was thinking a song that I edited to before, because I think because again, you're asking like a filmmaker this, I'm thinking about how to edit the scene. And I think Passion Pit's Sleepyhead has this like, so it has this like, it ramps up and ramps down, and it has natural edit beats. But also, I think you got to do slow motion moments, and you've really got to like play this up in every way. So that song, I think, you could edit it together like really dramatic, like, and get something pretty cool. So, and plus, it's like a song that kind of gets you energized, and it's like really fun. And then, but then it like slows down, and it's got the ebbs and flows to make the scene play the best. I feel like. So.
That is beautiful. I love that. And I'm way overdue for a Sleepyhead listen. It's been a while since I listened to that. That's probably one of my favorite songs of all time. Like, not like, maybe not like top 5, but it's somewhere high in the list of like favorite songs ever.
It's a fun little song.
You just like feel so many things when it happens. It just is just like joyful,
Yeah. I mean, I am going through, they had new music out too. I make a new Spotify best of the year list every single year. And so I'm working on it now, and I've been listening to I think they have some new stuff out too, so I have to check that out.
All right, plug for Passion Pit. I will go check that out also.
They need it, You're
like, new album drops.
I have no idea. I couldn't tell you anything else other than I think they have a new album.
I thought maybe like in your spare time, you're like Passion Pit publicist or fan club chair or something.
I think I know 3 songs. Yeah.
Also, you also don't have free time. You literally work until you pass out, and your body's like, "Fuck you, I'm going down right now."
That's really what happened. Like
that's scary.
Like, I woke up. I mean, it was so crazy. I hit a book, but thankfully I landed on the bed, so that's good. But if I hit like a table or something, it could have been it could have been awful. So that was a wake up call. So I'm better, but I am. Yeah, I mean, we are going movie to movie to movie to movie right now. So I'm just...
I'm like, says the guy who I don't even know. He doesn't even know what state he's in. I never know what state you're in. You didn't even know what state you were in when we started this. I'm like, take care of yourself. You get one body. Take care of it, please.
Yeah. I am in this weird thing where I feel like, how like in LA, there are those little like those cool bars that are like down some alley and whatever. And like you have to know, somebody has to know somebody to get you there. And it's such a microcosm of how Hollywood works, right? It's like you got to know somebody to get in this bar or whatever. And I feel like, okay, somehow I've been allowed into that bar, and there's no doorman right now. So I'm like putting a brick at the door, and I'm like, get my friends all in here, like let's figure this out because I don't know how I got in, and let's have fun and do something kind of weird with this. So it's like right now I have this opportunity to make a lot of movies, and there's opportunities being presented to myself and to my company, and I'm like, I don't know how long the door's going to stay open. Somebody's going to find that brick and close it, so might as well get everybody in I can, make these movies, and then it's like fraud. Go away. I'm like, I don't know. But that's
you're in the bar. You're in the club. You're good. You get to stay there.
I'll try. I'm trying.
Like, I appreciate that mentality, but also like sleep sometimes.
Yeah.
You gotta balance. It's about the balance. We gotta find the balance.
I'm doing better. I really am. I really am
good. All right. I'm just gonna scold you like periodically. Yeah. Like you're gonna get a weekly message from me. Like, are you fucking resting?
I'm not kidding. I have multiple friends who do that.
That's good. Those are good friends.
I have friends. Yes, I do. I have friends, including my mom also.
Good.
Who just constantly, it's like, I feel like I'm talking about my mom a lot on this. It's like come up as a thing. But she does. She'll be like, Aaron, are you taking your vitamins or are you getting rest? Like, what's going on? So
you better not be lying when you write back and you're like, yes, mom. Meanwhile, you haven't slept in freaking 32 hours.
Yeah, she knows. She knows.
Moms always know. It's like the spidey sense. The original spidey sense.
Yes, it's a thing. It's such a thing. Yeah.
And on that note, it has been wonderful to have you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. I've always wanted to be. I love your show, and you're wonderful, and I love what you're doing. So thank you for talking to me and watching my movies and stuff. So appreciate it.
One last plug. It's today, technically. Okay. Pale Door hits Shudder today. Scener watch party Saturday night. What time do you know?
9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, I believe.
Okay. Question mark? Okay.
It's I'll promote it. There's images on Fangoria, Shudder, Scener, all that stuff. And we'll be there with a lot of the cast, chatting along as it's happening. So maybe you should watch it first on Shudder, then do the party, and then after we'll do like a video Q&A and some fun stuff and all that. Maybe we'll give away stuff. I don't know. We'll figure something out. So,
okay. Yeah. All right. Sounds good. And I will link to your stuff so people can find you and all that good stuff. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Excited to watch again on Saturday with the watch party. With
Great. Q&A. Yeah. We'll be on. All right. But this was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
Once again, thank you so much to Aaron for joining us today. Make sure to check out The Pale Door on Shudder. That just dropped today. And this Saturday night is the watch party with cast and crew, courtesy of Fango and Scener, so get in on that. And one more little tidbit for you before I go. Do yourselves a favor and check out Secret Santa. Pick up a copy. This is a super fun holiday horror comedy by Andrew Schaefer. Get your copy. Give it a read, and we can discuss, because I really, really enjoyed this one. And we can discuss, because I really, really enjoyed this one, so I would like to have people to talk to about it. Secret Santa, Pale Door, now streaming on Shudder, watch party on Saturday night. Boom. When my neighbors walk by, my blinds are kind of open. I wonder if they ever peek in, like, what the fuck is she doing? That's all I got. As always, thank you so much for watching, listening. Please share, rate, comment, subscribe. It is super duper helpful to me when you leave ratings and reviews over on Apple Podcasts. So thank you so much to those of you who have taken the time to do that. And if you haven't yet, please do. I'm allowed to say this now because they posted it. I had the chance to do a special edition Convo Fango panel for, hit that drum roll, Monster Hunter. Ta-da! Yes, it was fucking cool. Yes, I was losing my mind over that, cause what? How many times did I see Event Horizon in the theater when it came out? I can't even tell you. How many times did I watch Resident Evil when it came out? I can't tell you that either, because I'm bad at math and I lost track, because it was a lot. That video will be up on Fangoria's YouTube on Friday, and I will post a link to that when that's ready. And that's all I got. I'll catch you next week for some more spooky shit.